it's been a long time. Just like everybody else, I've been working from home for the last couple of months, and I hope you like this new look. And from now on, I'll try to, well, become more disciplined in updating this. So today, I'm going to start with an example about dollar cost averaging. This is a post that I found a while ago. It's in a forum in Canada. Someone who started working 14 years ago out of college and getting a annual salary of $60,000 Canadian dollars, which is like less than 50,000. But the impressive thing is he was able to save more than half of his take-home pay and investing them into the following things: 20% in bond, and then 10% in real estate, 70% spread across Canadian equity, U.S. equity, and European equity, and emerging market. So over the course of the 14 years, he was actually able to accumulate his wealth from 0 to 1.5 million Canadian dollars. Anyway, so I did something similar on paper. Unfortunately, I used a Google Spreadsheet to track this index fund called the Vanguard Institutional Index Fund. And I believe a lot of people have it in their 401k. So from July 2008 till the end of 2019, I tracked the movement of this fund. And as you can see, if you put $10 each week into this index fund, versus putting $10 in savings account each week, over the course of this 11 years, there's a huge difference at the end. But my calculation is very simplified, because in reality, this fund would actually pay you dividend on a regular basis. And the dividend you get paid, you can also reinvest them back into this fund or invest into something else. So that will in turn earn you more money. So my calculation did not include any of these. But if you're interested, you can probably use Google Spreadsheet to do a better calculation to see what the difference would make if you invested in index fund versus in savings account. So that brings to my topic of today of using dollar cost averaging to invest in index. Here's a brief description of S&P 500. Basically, you need to be a U.S. company with pretty large market cap and has all the financial health. You can see that in many places on the internet. The highest concentration, well, not really a concentration, but the biggest chunk in this S&P 500 would include Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon, to name a few. And they are all pretty. Their price, they are currently traded at a pretty high price. Like Amazon is at over 2,000, and Apple and Facebook, they're all in a range of a few hundred, and Google over 1,000 as well. So if you want to invest in individual stocks, the high price tag would make a lot of people hesitant. So the solution would be investing in index fund, because for each $100 you put it in this Vanguard S&P 500 index, about $1 would be going to Apple, and another dollar would be going to Google, or something like that. So you could actually own all those stocks with very little money, and you can accumulate it. So with Vanguard, you can set it up in your account by going to account maintenance, and then after you get there, you can in the lower right corner, there's an automatic investment. That's where you can set it up. And once you get into the automatic investment, you can see what I currently have in there, and then you can further edit what's in my schedule. For example, in this case, I put something in these two funds every week. And you can do more. It depends on how much you want to invest on a regular basis. But the problem with Vanguard is most of its funds would require a $3,000 initial purchase. So it's still probably a lot for people to put in there in a time like this. An alternative is to use ETF. But Vanguard's ETF, even though it's a lot cheaper than the $3,000 mutual fund initial purchase, it's still like in the $200 or $300 range for some index ETFs. And you cannot automatically invest in ETF with Vanguard. So if you want to stick to mutual fund, you can use Fidelity because it doesn't have that $3,000 initial purchase requirement. You can start with as little as $10, and it will automatically put in money in there. For example, this is how I put in, how I set it up. I have probably $20 almost every day or every other day, and the setup process is similar to Vanguard, but probably slightly more user friendly. So that's based on my experience of using both for the last couple of years. And another thing about Fidelity is it has a lot of the variety of its fund is probably comparable to what, I mean, the most common ones is probably comparable to what you would see in Vanguard. So there's a lot of options to choose from. Another advantage of using Fidelity is it has a lot of lower priced ETFs that you can use for dollar cost averaging. That's just as good as Vanguard's, but lower price. But you will have to buy those ETFs each time. You won't be able to do it automatically. It's not as easy as using mutual fund. You can just set it up once and then just sit back and relax. So an alternative to do that is, if you want to use ETF, is to use this app called M1 Finance. It's a relatively new brokerage service that has this pie structure. Basically, is a portfolio with stocks and ETFs of your choice, and then you can set up something very similar to how you set up in the Vanguard or Fidelity mutual fund by providing them with your bank account and then giving the time frame of frequency and amount, and then M1 Finance will regularly draw money out of your bank and then purchase ETFs or stocks on your behalf. So you will have a portfolio that you can start with very little money instead of those $3,000 starting point. You can start with just a few, like $20 or so, and then accumulate over time. It will become pretty substantial given the next 10-20 years, just like the guy in my story at the beginning. M1 Finance has all these expert pies that you can just take, but you can also make your own. For example, right now, if we want to build a new pie, I will look for one bond ETF, this Vanguard Total Bond Market ETF, and then I'll pick that one, and then I'll pick a stock ETF, for example, a Vanguard Total Stock Market. So let's just make these two into a portfolio. I want to put, let's say, 20% in the bond market ETF, and then 80% in this total stock market ETF. So from now on, if you use this pie as your portfolio, for every $100 you put in there, $20 will be used to purchase this bond market ETF, and $80 will be used to purchase this stock market ETF. And then you can link the bank account and then to your account, and then set up. For example, in this case, it's setting up every Monday. $25 will be taken out of my bank account and used for my investment account with M1 Finance. So it's pretty easy to use, and the limit is you can only do 2 automatic transfer every week. If you want to do more, you can probably do it manually. The thing with M1 Finance is it's pretty new. There's some. It's not as the system is not as stable as well-known established names like Vanguard or Fidelity, but and recently, especially during the market crash, it has some problem, but there's not really nothing major. But if you're working from home and you can spend a little bit more time, Fidelity is actually a lot better, a lot useful if you want to spend time buying ETF instead of letting someone buy it for you. So I'll discuss more about that next time. In the meantime, I also have planned some of the topics that I've been doing homework about, and hopefully I can discuss that later on. And so I hope you can come back and join me next time. Goodbye.